Hello everyone, and welcome to today's challenge presentation for BNF Health Eating Week 2020. And today we're going to be looking at the challenge Vary Your Veg. So what is this challenge? Well, the Vary Your Veg challenge is to try and have a variety of vegetables every day this week. Now, before, in the last few years, we've used the 5-a-day challenge, but to really draw attention to the importance of vegetables rather than the 5-a-day fruit and vegetable message, we've really looked at the importance of vegetables this year, but also about the importance of having a variety. And that's why we should be varying our veg, trying to get to our 5-a-day and having a variety. And what you can do is you can print out this challenge guide and the Vary Your Veg Health Eating Week poster from nutrition.org.uk or from Food Effective Life. So today we're going to be looking at why it's important that we eat vegetables, why it's important to have a variety, what counts as part of your 5-a-day when we're talking about vegetables. This can be looking at dried, juiced, canned, frozen and fresh. What counts as a portion of vegetables, how much we're having and are we meeting the recommendations, and how can we include more vegetables in our diet. So the messaging from the government's Eat Well guide is to eat at least 5 portions of a variety of fruit and vegetables every day. We'll look a bit more later on about what constitutes a portion. But today we're going to be looking at just the vegetable side of this and trying to look at why is it that vegetables in particular are important. So first of all, a low vegetable consumption is linked to poor health and increased risk of some disease. So the evidence shows us that if we're meeting our 5-a-day requirements, so having 5 portions of fruit and vegetables every day, this can reduce the risk of heart disease, stroke, some types of cancer, and of obesity. When we're looking at obesity, this is really important because one of the things about vegetables is they can help you maintain a healthy weight, as they're naturally low in calories and fat. And when we're looking at healthier cooking methods for vegetables, it's important to make sure that when we're having them, to not have them roasted or fried in lots of butter or oil, as that can increase the amount of energy or calories and fat in them. But it's also that vegetables provide a range of different vitamins and minerals that we need for health. And we'll look in a little bit more detail about what the vitamins and minerals are later on. But one of the really important nutrients that they provide is fiber. Now, fiber is important because we know that we're having not enough fiber in our diet. And one of the other challenges of BNF Health Eating Week this year is to eat more whole grains. And again, one of the reasons for that is to look at fiber. So in the UK, the average intakes of fiber in adults 19 to 64 years is 19 grams per day, which is far below the recommendations of 30 grams per day. And 2 of the big providers of fiber in the diet are vegetables and whole grains. That's why they're 2 of the challenges this year. And diets high in fiber are important for managing a healthy digestive system, but also reducing the risk of some diseases. So heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and also bowel cancer. So why is it that we need a variety of vegetables? Well, you might have heard the term eat a rainbow when talking about fruit and vegetables. And the reason for that is to try and look for variety, because different types and colors of vegetables contain different combinations of the important nutrients we discussed on the previous slide, like fiber and like vitamins. And our bodies will need these to stay healthy. So if we're trying to get the most out of our 5-a-day, trying to have a wide variety of vegetables from each different color is really important. And some examples here are green, yellow, red, purple, orange. You might not see white on the rainbow, or you do in this one, but certainly things like cauliflower can be really healthy as well, and can be an important part of getting a variety of different veg. Now, the data, or the nutrient and food intake data, suggests that around 50% of our vegetable intake comes from just 4 types. This is fresh and canned tomatoes, carrots, onions, and peas, which seems like a really high amount to come from just 4 kinds. And one of the reasons for this is it's easier to get stuck in the habit of eating the same vegetables. That's why we're really looking at having a variety. Now, there's lots of different reasons for this, and it might be that people in your family only like one type of variety or a few types of vegetables, and don't like a variety. Or it might be that if you're buying fresh veg and you buy it and you put it in the fridge, you're worried about it going off. So then opting for things like canned and frozen options can be really important with this. And we'll talking a little bit more detail about this later on. But overall, eating a wider variety of vegetables can provide a wider range of nutrients, as well as the opportunity to try out new foods and new recipes. And one of the other challenges for this week is all about eating together and trying out new recipes and enjoying food together. So this links in nicely with that as well. And there's lots of different recipes on the Food A Fact of Life website. If you're wanting to try out a new recipe, you can also filter the recipes for fruit or for vegetables. So this is an example of some of the recipes that have come out when we filter for vegetables. And these also got things like complexity and time and the food skills, if you're trying to help children cook, or if you're limited by time, or if you want an easier and more difficult recipe as well. So when we talk about the different nutrients that vegetables contain, here's some examples. So vitamin C is important for maintaining healthy body tissues. Vitamin A, which I think is often linked with carrots and vision. So vitamin A is important for maintenance of normal vision, skin, and the immune system. Folate, which is found in leafy green veg, is important for normal and healthy blood formation. Potassium helps to maintain a healthy blood pressure and is also important for the normal functioning of the nerve system. We talked a little bit about fiber before, so amongst other things, helps to maintain a healthy gut. Now, we know from the National Diet and Nutrition Survey data, which looks at population food and nutrient intake, that there are low intakes of fiber, as we spoke about before, but also for some vitamins and minerals in both children and adults. So trying to increase the amount of vegetables that we're having is a really important way of combating this. So what counts as part of your 5 a day? So there's some examples of 5 a day portions. We don't have to limit our portion size of vegetables. Having smaller amounts of lots of different kinds is great too. So the example here we've got is in a soup, but it's important also to remember that fresh, frozen, canned, dried, and juiced types all count. Now, this can cause a little bit of confusion sometimes for people when they think the fresh vegetables are best, so they always opt for fresh. And certainly they can be a great way of getting in your vegetable intake. But the slight issue with fresh veg is that it can encourage you to either stick to one type if you're buying lots of it, but also it might increase the risk of food waste if you're buying a lot and then not using it. So people shouldn't not want to have frozen and canned varieties, because actually they're great as well, and they do count towards your 5 a day. So some examples are cooked vegetables like broccoli, peas, cabbage, or carrots, a dessert bowl of salad. Now, beans, chickpeas, or lentils, we'll talk a little bit about them in a second, but they can count as one portion, and 150 milliliter smoothie or glass of unsweetened vegetable juice also counts, but again, as a maximum of 1 of your 5 a day. The reason for this is because when fruit, but in this case vegetables, are blended, sugars are released, which can damage teeth. And the other one we talked about there is dried options, which you really mostly find with fruit, but with the 5 a day message, I'll just mention this because it's important, is that dried fruit can stick to teeth, which may lead to tooth decay. So it's best to keep, when you're having dried fruit, to meal times and not between meals. And again, this is because of the sugars and the damage to your teeth that this can cause. So when we look at 5 a day vegetables, canned vegetables also count. And can be some great options for different recipes. So canned tomatoes can be a good base for sauces or curries, canned sweet corn, and then your pulses like chickpeas and kidney beans can be added to stews, soups, or salads. And you often use the term about bulking out meals with these kinds of foods. So with your pulses, with veg as well, because that will increase the amount of food you're having, but only increase the amount of energy or calories you're having more slightly, because these are very low energy dense foods. And we'll look a little bit later on about trying to eat vegetables on a budget. But it's important to look out for lower cost vegetables at supermarkets, or go to local markets, which at local markets they can sometimes be cheaper as well. So really one of the questions that's asked about when we look at what counts, and probably one of two, the other being potatoes, which we'll discuss in the next slide, but how about beans and pulses? Do these count? And the simple answer is yes, but only as a maximum of 1 portion a day. The reason for this is because beans and pulses don't contain the same mixture of vitamins and minerals and other nutrients as vegetables. However, that's not to say that they're not a really important part of a healthy, varied and balanced diet. And the recommendations from the Eat Well guide are to eat more beans and pulses in the diet, and they fit into this beans, pulses, fish, eggs, meat and other proteins group. So they provide a low fat source of protein as well as iron and dietary fiber, and that's why they're included in this group on the Eat Well guide. Now the other one, as I said, is potatoes. Now again, some people can think that potatoes are vegetables and therefore would count as one of your 5 a day, but actually, although potatoes do provide a big proportion of our vitamin C intake, they're not part of the fruit and vegetables group, and that's because they fit into this potatoes, bread, rice, pasta and other starchy carbohydrates group. Now again, that's not to say that they're not an important part of a healthy, varied and balanced diet, but it's just that they don't fit into the fruit and vegetable group and don't count as one of your 5 a day. And if we're trying to make healthier options with having potatoes, trying to leave the skin on is important, because it can increase the amount of fiber you're having with the potatoes. So how about with portion sizes and what counts as a portion size? So at BNF, we've produced work on our portion size guidance, Get Portion Wise, which suggests the right average amount of the right average portion sizes for different foods. So for fruit and vegetables, 1 portion is approximately 80 grams. And what we often say for younger children is a portion is around the amount that fits into the palm of a child's hand. Now, for the reasons that we discussed earlier, for dried fruit, a portion is about 30 grams, and that's encouraged to be eaten at meal times and not in between meals. And again, we talked about fruit and vegetable juices and smoothies as well. So a portion is 150 millilitres, and we should be limiting this to a combined total of 150 millilitres per day. And again, that can be a maximum of 1 portion. Now, there's some examples of some of the portion sizes from the guidance on the right-hand side of this, but probably the most important take-home message is the more the better with vegetables. So to try and not worry about limiting portion sizes, and to try and encourage people to have more vegetables in their diet. And again, we talked about the idea of bulking out meals with veg, which can be great, adding in veg to soups and stews, and to lots of different meals. So really, this is the guidance on what constitutes a portion, but really the message is the more the better. Try and be increasing the amount of vegetables in the diet. So how many vegetables are we having over a period of time, and are we meeting these 5 a day requirements? So this is slightly difficult because there aren't specific recommendations for just vegetables. They're often piled in as the term fruit and vegetables. What we know is that we're not meeting the fruit and vegetable requirements, the 5 a day requirements. So this is the information that 18% of children had the recommended 5 or more portions of fruit and vegetables per day, and the average number was just over 3 portions a day. And less than a third of adults were eating the recommended 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day. And this is actually even lower in men than in women. So it was around a third in women, but nearer a quarter in men. So certainly we're not meeting the recommendations, and we should be really encouraging people to have more vegetables. So what have we seen in terms of vegetable intake? Now, you can see from the top line here, and this data is from the Family Food Survey, is that the intake of fresh vegetables has declined since sort of the 1940s, and over time quite gradually. You can see the peak where it's increased a little bit, particularly for fresh fruit around 2003, which is interesting because that's around the time there was a real government push on the 5 a day recommendations. But more recently, purchases of vegetables have been declining since 2005. And one of the reasons for this is it's been mainly due to the purchase of fresh green veg, which has fallen by a quarter since 2005. So that's quite interesting. We've seen this slight decline more recently. But I think the take-home message is when we look at vegetable intake is that we should be trying to increase it. And we should be really encouraging people to have more veg and to vary their veg. So that's easier said than done sometimes. I know there is difficulty in trying to get children to eat more vegetables, but also in adults, as we saw from the figures, adults aren't having enough vegetables either. So how about some tips to try and include more vegetables, include more variety of vegetables? So we've said about bulking out meals, so adding extra vegetables to dishes, such as spaghetti bolognese, curry, or cottage pie. Just like fruit, vegetables can make a great snack. And you think of throwing an apple and a banana into a child's lunchbox or into what you're taking to work. But you can also have carrot, pepper, or celery sticks and get some low-fat hummus to dip them in as well. And they could be a really great snack. And again, vegetable juice or smoothies up to that maximum of 150 millilitres a day that we spoke about can be served as a drink alongside meals. And one of the things when we're looking at having fruit juice or vegetable juice at meal times is that if the fruit juice is higher in vitamin C, then this can help the body absorb iron from the cereal. So that's really interesting as well. So vitamin C can help you absorb iron from plant-based sources. So having a glass of vegetable juice at meal times can be a really great way of getting this. So how can we include more vegetables in our diet? So adding extra vegetables doesn't have to be expensive or time consuming. And again, we spoke about frozen vegetables as they're pre-chopped, can be a quick addition to meals. They can be easy when we're trying to look to reduce food waste as well. And this can help us encourage us to have a variety. Because if we're able to choose mixed veg as an example, and we can have a variety rather than thinking of getting fresh vegetables from lots of different types and then chopping them up and then risking that food waste as well. So frozen or canned are a great option. For frozen vegetables, peas are a favorite, but there's lots of different frozen vegetables that are good options: broad beans, green beans, spinach, edamame beans, or the mixed vegetables that I just said about. And these can all be really good options to try and include more vegetables and a larger variety of vegetables in our diet. And how about saving money with vegetables? So we can try and choose vegetables that are in season or from local markets. Again, choosing frozen or canned vegetables to help us reduce food waste. Trying to bulk out meals by adding vegetables can make the meal go further, as it were. Trying to buy loose vegetables, which can be much cheaper than the pre-packaged ones. So supermarkets might incur an extra cost that they've been packaged, but instead you can just buy them yourself. And for meals and snacks on the go, you can save money by preparing your own salad or a fruit salad rather than buying them from a supermarket or something like that. And you can get the little packets of vegetables and carrot sticks with hummus and things like that. So here's some examples of ways you can vary your veg at breakfast. And you could, when we look at the beans on wholemeal toast and the avocado on toast, adding grilled tomatoes or mushrooms can be a great way. And then we spoke a little bit about having the 150 millilitres of vegetable juice as well. So varying your veg at lunch, it could be, again, bulking out meals, having beans with potatoes. As we said, whilst the potatoes don't count, but you can see from this picture, they've kept the skins on, which is great for the fibre intake. But baked beans can count as a maximum of one portion. Again, looking at the whole grain bread, but making sure that if you're having a packed lunch with sandwiches, you can pack some veg in there. So there's some tomato and cucumbers. And then with soups and stews, again, trying to add in, especially canned vegetables can be really useful for these. So some sweet corn or some chickpeas or kidney beans or something like that. And then at dinner, again, it's a similar message, just trying to make sure that you can get a lot of veg in and bulking out meals as well. So trying to include vegetables at every meal time, if possible, can be a great way of getting your 5 a day in across the day. And then the vary your veg snack options as well. So some celery sticks and some carrots as well can be great for an on-the-go snack. So to summarize, one of the best ways is to change the texture when you're looking to vary your veg. So for example, if someone in your family doesn't like the texture of chopped vegetables, you can try grating some carrots or courgettes into your food to add flavor, or you could make a soup or sauce with added vegetables and blend until smooth. This is a great way of kind of mixing it up a little bit. We talked about buying in season, so trying a new fruit or vegetable each week to increase the variety. Then you can pick seasonal vegetables. Again, if we're trying to save some money, seasonal veg can often be cheaper. Again, looking at unsweetened vegetable juice as a maximum of 1 portion, choosing frozen or canned varieties. So frozen vegetables contain just as many nutrients as fresh. They can also help with reducing food waste, as we said. They can keep much longer. They're more economical as you only have to cook what you need. And then with canned varieties, trying to make sure that when you do choose canned vegetables, they're in natural juice or water with no added sugar or salt. So it's important to watch out for canned vegetables which do have added sugar or salt, and then to try and choose those in water instead. And then finally, the most important point from this particular Vary Your Veg challenge is to try and have a variety and make sure that you reach your 5 a day. So how can you get involved in the challenge? Well, you can put up the challenge guide or poster around your school, workplace, or at home if you're working from home. And on Food Effective Life, there's lots of activities and worksheets to get children involved in this. And there's lots of activities again on nutrition.org.uk for universities and workplaces to get involved in. We also really encourage everyone to get involved on Twitter. So if you're a school, at Food Effective Life, and if you're a workplace or university, at BNF Events. And this is great for us, and we really do encourage people to get involved as much as possible using the hashtag BNFHEW20. Here's a few examples from last year, but we get some fantastic response on Twitter, and it's great for us to see how much you guys are getting involved in the week. And then you can also get cooking with our BNF Healthy Eating Week cooking sessions. So here's some examples from Healthy Eating Week at home, but again, we'll be running 10 cooking sessions across the week at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. And there'll be 2 Vary Your Veg cooking sessions on the Tuesday. So really encourage you to get involved in that as well. And for any more information, you can find out about BNF Healthy Eating Week in nurseries and in schools at foodeffectivelife.org.uk. You can find out about BNF Healthy Eating Week in universities and workplaces at nutrition.org.uk. And all the information about our Healthy Eating Week cooking sessions can be found in the Get Cooking area of foodeffectivelife.org.uk. So I want to thank everyone so much for listening. Hope you found out lots of new information about how to vary your veg and why vegetables are so important in the diet. So thank you everyone for listening. Hope you have a great BNF Healthy Eating Week 2020. Thank you very much.